My mother-in-law walks into my house anytime she wants, barging right in through our garage since she has a code to our garage door, and just letting herself into our house whenever she wants. And after dealing with this for so long, I finally hit my breaking point and told my husband that I don't want her coming into our house whenever she wants. Because right now I am super annoyed by this behavior, and I seriously now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I want to preface this by saying that I have a great relationship with my mother-in-law as well as my husband. I'm a non-confrontational person, and I tend to let a lot of stuff slide, but I put my foot down on this and I need to know if I was being a jerk. So my husband immigrated here as a young boy with his parents. His only real family that he knows is his parents and sibling. I was born into a large extended family who have always been close, but it's not in our nature to just stroll into another person's house. When we see each other, it's because we made plans to do so, and that's honestly what I'm used to. After my second child was born, my mother-in-law started taking some liberties after we gave her our garage code while she was watching our older child while I was giving birth. It started with me ignoring a knock at the door during my first hours home after a 5-day hospital stay after giving birth, because I was trying to concentrate on breastfeeding and I wasn't expecting anybody to come by our house. Well, then I hear my garage door open and my mother-in-law comes in and just sits on the couch and starts visiting. Now, I didn't like that, so I expressed that to my husband and he seemed to get it. Then she did the same thing. She came over unannounced and let herself in while I was having a tender moment with my older child decorating the Christmas tree. She sat down and started bossing them around about where to put ornaments, and I got so frustrated, I just put an end to the decorating and made it so awkward that she finally left. Well, after this, my husband was mad that I was mad. He said to me, "I'm just glad she at least wants to see me." Now, for reference, I have a strained relationship with my mom, so this honestly was a low blow in my opinion. Now, I love my mother-in-law and I'm very close with her, but I really feel like this is just crossing a line, and I am not okay with it. I think my husband should respectfully have my back. I know a lot of cultures are used to multi-generational living or even just close family, where this type of thing is just normal and it's not seen as unusual. And maybe for some it is normal, but it makes me so uncomfortable and I hate it. I don't want it to cause a strain or disrespect for my mother-in-law or my husband, or discount their unique relationship in being such a tight family due to the rest of their kin being in another country. And I also don't want to be a jerk. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think you have every right to expect some kind of notice before someone barges into your house. Like, you guys have basically given her a key to your house and she now just comes and goes as she pleases. And that, in my opinion, is not the sign of a good guest. She is not being respectful of your space or your time, and if anything, she is literally just being a nuisance. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way. Like, I love my family, but if they barged into my house anytime they wanted, or if they came into my house all because I wasn't answering the door, that would seriously be such a breach of trust and privacy, it's just not even funny. And I totally understand where the original poster is coming from, where they basically make the conclusion that this really is some kind of cultural difference between her and her husband. But even with that in mind, I don't think it would be unreasonable for your husband to see where you're coming from with this and tell his mom not to show up unannounced whenever she wants. Like, she really does need to come through the front door just like everybody else. So no, I don't think you're the jerk. I think what you're asking of your husband and your mother-in-law is completely reasonable, and I do think this is something they absolutely could accommodate. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for being so done with a family drama going on in my extended family? Because right now, my brother and sister-in-law are being super annoying, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So my husband has multiple siblings between the ages of 8 and 27. The only one that matters here is the oldest brother, who's 27, and his wife, who's 24. They have always seemed a little more concerned with themselves and getting what they want. But what has happened recently has been quite the surprise. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are very genuine and caring people to a fault. Also, for context, I am 16 weeks pregnant and the only other person that is married into the family. 2 months ago, my father-in-law proposed an idea where we work together on a project and use the funds we make to pay for a family cruise, and everyone happily agreed to work. When we started planning, my brother-in-law and his wife were trying their hardest to not go on a cruise. I'm honestly not sure why, as their reasonings were inconsistent and don't make any sense to me, my husband, or his parents. So then, without being asked, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law proposed propose 4 other ideas of places to go in an elaborate PowerPoint with highlights of activities in the areas. But the problem is that I couldn't participate in 90% of the activities while pregnant. They included things like roller coasters, long hikes, and surfboarding, not to mention the proposed plan to go skiing and ice skating, which I could not participate in at all. They acknowledged that I wouldn't be able to do almost anything on the other trips in a text, but they literally did not care. After all of that, my father-in-law said he still chose the cruise for many reasons, including that he knew my mother-in-law would be guilted and made to babysit my brother-in-law and sister-in-law's 2 younger kids while they went and had fun on their own. More recently, my brother and sister-in-law have said they point blank will not go on a cruise, even though they had been begrudgingly planning on it after their ideas were turned down. They also have threatened my father-in-law to just take their portion of the money from our work and go on their own vacation. When my father-in-law said they could go ahead and do that, my brother-in-law backtracked and said he didn't want to actually do that now. But he also reiterated that he did not want to and was not going on the cruise. So now my mother-in-law and father-in-law are trying to bend over backward to accommodate their selfishness and are trying to plan a second vacation that my father-in-law would fully fund. The second vacation would be at a resort with a lake because my sister-in-law likes lakes, and my husband and I would not be going since I would be 32 weeks pregnant by then. I'm incredibly frustrated by all of this. I'm especially frustrated by my brother and sister-in-law being so selfish and so entitled, especially when they feel the need to bully my mother and father-in-law into doing something that they really don't want to do. My husband understands my frustration, but is trying to be more impartial and help his parents work things out. I really don't think I'm in the wrong here for feeling infuriated, but all of my in-laws' reactions are causing me to question myself. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about this brother and sister-in-law, to be completely honest with you. They clearly just want to cause problems, and honestly, that is not your concern in the slightest. And it almost seemed like they were picking out vacation ideas that you intentionally couldn't participate in, because they know you're pregnant, but they still tried to pick these vacation activities, knowing that you could not participate in them. So honestly, I would not worry about them in the slightest, and I think the biggest silver lining here is that they are not going to be going on this cruise. So that is at least something that you get to look forward to. Am I the jerk for banning my girlfriend from using glass cups in my house, as she breaks them way too often, and I find myself stepping in broken glass all the time? Because right now she is very angry at me, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, my girlfriend has a problem with glass. She is clumsy and always has been, and has broken many other things before now. And I would not mind this, but she is also awful at cleaning the shards up. This past week alone, she has dropped 3 glasses, 1 jar, 2 bowls, and a coffee cup. And she busted a plate by leaving it on the stovetop while the oven was preheating. And this is despite the fact of being warned many times before that items should not be on the burners when the oven is heating because the conduction carries through. She has been stressed out at work, so I kind of attribute a lot of it to that. I can't even really say which glass objects have injured me specifically each time. It's just that I've been limping for a week because I stepped on a big shard of glass that went into my foot, and some other smaller ones that went into my foot as well. Plus, some of them went in my palms because I missed them as I kneeled down to pull the ones that were in my foot. I have stepped on or pressed my hand into glass 4 times this week. Tonight when she asked for a soda, I poured it into a plastic cup instead of a glass one like she prefers, and said that she couldn't use my glasses. And when I said that, she threw a fit. I literally just can't phrase it any differently. She progressively got angrier at me for bringing up the other broken glasses because they were just accidents, and that I should not punish her, especially because I started mentioning others before this week. But even so, I am sick of going through gauze and tape. She insists that I'm making mountains out of molehills, and I should clean it up myself to my specifications because she does her best. So I really need to know, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? You are definitely not the jerk, and I don't blame you for not letting your girlfriend use any glass cups in your house. Is she seriously saying, oh my gosh, I can't help that I'm breaking glasses. You should clean it up yourself if it's not good enough. And it's like, what are you talking about? You're breaking glass and leaving it on the floor. No one should be expected to walk through glass just because you want to be lazy. Like, that is seriously insane. There's no good excuse for that. So no, of course the original poster is not a jerk. The girlfriend in this scenario is being very selfish and entitled, and I don't blame you for banning her from using glass cups. My husband is a doctor and refused to let me go to the hospital when I was in intense pain, but I'm thankfully glad that we did go to the hospital because I eventually found out that my appendix had ruptured, and I'm now sitting here confused, wondering why my husband was so against me going to the ER. Here's what happened. So me and my husband husband have been married for 2 years, and he's always been a very good husband, and we've had a great marriage. About 3 weeks ago, I've been having off and on pain in my stomach. I thought it was cramps, and my husband said I'd be fine. I wasn't really worried until it started to get worse over the course of that week, all the way up until it was excruciating. My husband acted more annoyed than concerned. Even when my temperature was 103, he kept telling me to take some pain medications and take a shower. And when I said that I think I needed to go to the ER, he told me no, that wasn't necessary. Even when I cried in pain, he didn't comfort me at all. He also genuinely rolled his eyes at one point. And as a side note, I'm not dramatic about pain at all. I'm rarely sick, so this really wasn't a normal thing. Well, in the middle of the night, the pain suddenly stopped hurting, and that was concerning to him. In the morning, he tossed a bottle of water at me and told me that I looked better. I told him it stopped hurting. He then took me to the emergency room, and I guess that's what happens when your appendix ruptures. Anyway, so I had surgery and a bad infection. I was in the hospital for like a week and a half, I think, and while I was there, my husband was very kind and attentive. But ever since I've been home, he's been back to insinuating that I'm being dramatic. I'm genuinely so confused as to why he's acting like this. When I ask him about it, he insists that he's not acting that way, though he very clearly is. He genuinely asked me yesterday if I was going to cook dinner, and I'm like, why is he like this? He's never been this type of person before. I mean, is it because he's a doctor? I honestly don't know, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Wow, your husband sucks like a lot. Why on earth would he be like, no, you're not gonna go to the hospital, but only once you show like this very crucial symptom is he like, oh wait, no, let's seriously go to the hospital. Like, that's really disturbing behavior, and I would be super upset if I was in your shoes. This guy almost cost you your life, and this is all because what? He didn't want you to go to the emergency room? I'm a firm believer that if you really are in that kind of pain, and you've got this weird temperature and pain going on in your body, then absolutely go to the emergency room and get this figured out. So yes, your husband is a massive jerk for not letting you go, because that seriously could have been fatal. My son is furious with me, as he is blaming me for his girlfriend breaking up with him after I had a talk with her and told her to consider her options moving forward, which eventually led to her breaking up with my son. Because right now, my son is incredibly angry, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my son has been in a relationship with his girlfriend for about 3 years now. I love my son, and I hate to say this, but he's not turned out to be a good person. He has very little work ethic, has no desire to get a job or to go to college, and spends most of his time gaming or partying. His girlfriend, on the other hand, is the polar opposite. She's very studious, has aspirations to be a doctor, and is a very good swimmer, and is currently away at college. When my son and his girlfriend first got together in high school, they were an excellent match. We loved having her over, and my son definitely took more care of himself. Since then, though, he has rapidly deteriorated. I know my son still loves his girlfriend, but he never gives her the attention that she deserves. And with her clear potential, I just feel that she deserves better. When she came to visit a few days ago, she was visibly upset. When my son went to the store, I asked her if she was okay, and she told me that she didn't know what to do and wondered why my son had such little ambition and was so lazy. Well, I told her that I didn't see it changing anytime soon, and that's honestly been my view, given that it's been ongoing for almost 2 years. When she asked what I would do in her situation, I told her to put herself first and what she wanted. She thanked me and said that she'd think things over. Well, earlier today, my son comes downstairs in a rage, telling me that his girlfriend had broken up with him via text message. I asked him what she said, and apparently the message referred to discussions she had with me and how they made her rethink the whole relationship. My son was livid that I had gotten involved and said that I overstepped my boundaries, but I told him that I didn't advise her to leave him. I just said that she had to make her own choices and decide what was best for her. My son is now not talking to me, and my husband is annoyed, believing that my son not having his girlfriend will only make his rut last even longer. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all, and I think you're 100% right. You didn't tell her to end the relationship. You just told her to think about her choices and figure out what she wants to do. Because here's the thing, if she wanted this relationship to work, she would have stuck around with your son and tried to make things work for the better. But she clearly saw that this was a losing fight, so she decided to cut her losses and find somebody else. And you know what? In my opinion, your son has no one else to blame except for himself. If he was actually making strides in his life and his future career, then she might have stuck around and given him a chance. But instead, he's been super lazy and not done anything to improve his life, choosing to play video games and partying instead of going to college or getting a job. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. Your son is reaping exactly what he sowed, and in my opinion, I don't blame the girlfriend for breaking up with him in the slightest. Am I the jerk for refusing to put my name down on a lease agreement that my mother is trying to push on me? Because after her history of having bad debt, I'm suspicious that she will ever make any kind of payments on the house she is trying to rent. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my mother has always been the extremely controlling type, so much so that my very first whiff of alcohol was at 19, and most of my friends started at 16. And I've also never had a sleepover with any of my female friends, nor any of my family members either. Now, without dabbling into too much details, and I don't want to be too biased on this, my mom has always had control over my life. After having had to drop out of university due to financial constraints, which had to do with me being kicked out because the free payer stopped paying, I decided to take a couple of customer service jobs. They were extremely low paying, they had terrible hours, and I was easily pulling a 15-hour shift at least twice a week. Well, recently I got a new job. The pay is good, the work is great, but it is very consuming. And trust me, you earn every cent that you make. Since getting this new job, I have made it my mission to get myself everything I've been begging for the last few years. I needed a new phone because my iPhone 7 was absolutely shattered, so I took out a finance plan for it. I also had to get a new laptop for work, so I financed that as well. And earlier this week, I picked up my new car. I was the only one of my siblings who was not bought a first car from my parents. Obviously, the amount of changes happening in my life made it seem as though I had a salary jackpot, but I do not. Instead, I'm just very good at saving. Well, my mother has obviously seen this. I do still live with her in a rental house, along with my unemployed dad, my unemployed brother, and his 2 kids. Our lease is up at the end of February, and so my parents have been viewing houses. My mother is blacklisted with the credit bureau right now, and as a side note, she was able to pay all of her debts in 2020 after selling my childhood home. So all of her debt right now is very new. She has skipped her car payments, skipped her loan payments, and pretty much anything else. And my mother has a very good job and definitely can afford these things. But her lifestyle is entirely too inflated. She spends way too much money on entertainment and entertaining. Due to the blacklisting, the landlords of the properties that she wants are not open to offering her a rental. Once again, it's because of the inflated lifestyle, and she only wants the best of the best looking houses. She has asked me to put my name and info down on her lease, claiming that she will cover the payments. When I asked what it would do to my credit score, she snapped at me and started shouting about why I don't need a good credit score because I've already got the things I need on my credit. Now, obviously, my mom is a terrible payer. That would reflect on my credit score, and at 21, I'm preparing myself to move out into my own apartment in the near future. My mother is not seeing it this way and has decided to give me the cold shoulder. If I greet her at any point during the day, she looks at me very blankly and continues what she was doing wordlessly. So honestly, am I the jerk for not putting my name down on the lease? What should I do? Yeah, I'm really gonna keep it 100% and say that your mom does not sound like a good person at all. It really seems like your mom is trying to use you in some kind of way. She's trying to put your name down on the lease so she won't get in trouble for getting in more debt. Basically using your good name and credit as a smokescreen so that she can get this expensive house and then not make payments on it. And you know what? I can guarantee you if you do put your name on that lease, you will 100% be responsible for all of the payments because your mom 100% would ruin your life if given the chance. So no, of course you're not the jerk for not wanting to put your name on the lease. Your mom is clearly irresponsible, and I would not trust her for a second when she says she's going to cover the payments. It's also really funny to me that she snapped at you and almost like freaked out when you said, wait a second, what's that going to do to me? Because that's basically her showing her hand that she is not going to pay on time, that she's using you so she can get a better house, and that she's going to throw you completely under the bus as a result of her not making her payments. You can also see the blatant manipulation tactics where she's giving you the cold shoulder all because you don't want to do this. And honestly, it is not your fault that she has terrible credit. She's clearly trying to maintain a lifestyle that she cannot support. And so she's now turning to you to try and maintain that in some kind of way. And that's really not fair of you because you said it yourself. You don't make a ton of money, you're just good at saving your money. Which in my opinion, especially considering who you live with, that's probably a good idea. So no, of course you're not the jerk for not putting your name on that lease. And in my opinion, it would serve you better to move out of there and find your own place to live. Because your mom is very clearly trying to use you, and you do not deserve that in the slightest. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.